Welcome back to part 2 of social psychology. I still think this might even be more interesting than abnormal psychology because you're trying to figure out the way people act in certain situations and the way we act towards other people on a basic level. So part 2 is going to start off with prejudice and discrimination. To figure out what prejudice is, we're going to look at it as a prejudgment. It's an attitude. It's unjustifiable, and it's usually negative. It's usually a mixture of 3 different parts, and the way we're going to look at it for this class. And the first one is going to believe that your prejudice is based upon your beliefs or stereotypes and the way you think these people are really going to be, or group of people, or however that works out. Emotions is based upon hostility or fear, so you're going to have a hostility or fear towards whoever you're prejudiced against. And the third is going to be a predisposition to an action, so you're already somewhat exposed and you're conformed to act a certain way to these people. Discrimination is unjustifiable negative behavior, so discrimination and prejudice very closely, very, very similar in their role. Social roots of prejudice is the just world phenomenon, the tendency for people believe that the world is just so that the people get what they deserve. You had it coming to you, stuff of that nature. The in group is going to be us, and the out group is going to be them. So if it's not us, it's them dirty commies. You guys may have heard something like that. The in group bias is the tendency to favor one group over another. I think we looked at this with the Robbers Cave experiment. I call it Survivor. So you have one group over here, another group over there, like on the Survivor show. And so you're going to favor those that are in your group against those that are outside of your group. We have emotional roots that go into play with this. So we have the little cartoon that says, we feel the office scapegoat is a key component of team building and you're a great fit for the job. So it offers an outlet of anger by providing someone to blame. So you have someone to blame for when things aren't going well. And so you look upon that and you focus upon that, and that's your focus for everything and how it works out. So to identify the cognitive roots of prejudice, we're going to simplify the world by forming categories. We all form categories. We all form these little things in our mind that help us understand where people place, and we put them in our place because that's where we work with, unfortunately. Categorizing people into groups, we form categories, us and them, and so on. Other race effect is a tendency to recall faces of one's own race more accurately than faces of another race. You might have heard all so-and-so look alike. It's an unfortunate saying, but that's why the other race effect comes into play, because you say that we can see people of our own race, or whatever we are, for me to be white, more accurately than I can see somebody of another race. Let's move on to aggression. Aggression and their different definitions aggression is any physical or verbal behavior intended to hurt or destroy. I think I talked to you guys about abuse and how 1 out of every 5 children supposedly is a victim of abuse, which they'll tell you right now that aggression is any physical or verbal behavior. So yelling or being mean to somebody in social situations is aggression. You can have a genetic predisposition to aggression, so you can have that genetic code that says you are going to be a more aggressive person. There's not a single spot in the brain that controls aggression. Drugs and alcohol unleash aggressive responses to frustration. So these can be little triggers and ease up the trigger for situations where you're a little bit more aggressive than what you would be, because you don't have the frontal lobe effect of sitting there telling you that what you should do or should not do. Frustration is an aggression principle. The principle that frustration, the blocking of an attempt to achieve some goal, causes anger, which can generate aggression. I think for me, on some point, you guys look at me on a computer, if you hit a remote and just bang it up against the wall, you can be angry about this. Learning can alter natural reactions. At some point, you guys can learn that, you don't have to be angry every time things don't go your way. You can be a little bit more peaceful and things can go with. Parents should reinforce desirable behaviors and frame statements positively. Because you don't bring home your homework doesn't necessarily mean that you should get yelled at. It might mean that you just need to be talked to and fixed from that situation, as opposed to getting screamed at. Repeatedly viewing violence teaches us social scripts. These are guides on how to act in various situations. So if you play video games and you learn how to kill a lot of people, then you might be more inclined to kill a lot of people, supposedly. So do violent video games teach social scripts for violence? That is the question of the day. I think a couple people are even doing senior questions on this, it seems like, every year. People who play a lot more violent video games see the world as more hostile, because that is what you have been conditioned to understand, and you have been taught that the world is a more hostile place. And so you act upon those fears sometimes, and you got to see how things work out. Opposite of aggression is attraction. So we're going to look at this. The physical psychology of attraction is proximity, is geographic nearness. This is saying by being close to somebody and by being around this person a lot, it can increase the ability for you to like somebody. Familiarity breeds fondness. The more around that person, you understand, you overlook the small things that you may have looked at earlier, and so you're okay with the way things work out. Physical appearance most affects our first impressions. You usually go after the person who you're most physically attracted to, who you're physically attracted to at first. Although this isn't the necessary cause for a long-term relationship, it does sometimes lead into relationships. Similarity is the more people are alike, the more their liking endures. So it gives you validation for the way you feel and the way you look, and it validates your sort of opinion. Similarity does breed contempt, but it doesn't breed like. It's sort of weird. When people share our views, they reward us by validating our own. So, if you're Christian and you date someone who is a religious person and they're Christian, it helps validate your opinion of Christianity. Romantic love, you have lust, which is immediate, versus love, which is attachment. Passionate love is an aroused state of intense positive absorption into another. And so you're excited to see somebody else. You're always happy to see that person. You get excited. Companionate love is for those who our lives are intertwined. This will be the person who you live with for the rest of your life, but you're okay. You're happy that you're with that person for the rest of your life. You're pleasantly okay. This right here sort of sums it up. You're so funny, composed to, I don't even know why this is funny, but you're going to laugh with the other person because you start to become more intertwined and you can finish these other sentences and all those sort of fun stuff. One key to gratifying and enduring relationship is equity. So people receive from a relationship what they put into it. So you have to be able to give, was it 50-50? Or they'll tell you math is not really good in relationships, so you want to do 100-100. Self-disclosure is you reveal intimate aspects of oneself to another, so you open up to these people, you let them see what you really feel like, and that you're positive one another, and that you're positive talking back and forth, and this involves more attraction for things in the long term. Intimacy can grow from pausing to ponder and write our feelings. I'm not too much of a writer, more of a talker, but even if you talk about your feelings with somebody else, that does lead to greater intimacy. Altruism, conflict, and peacemaking. When do people help and when don't they? Altruism is unselfish regard for the welfare of others. This means that you're okay helping things out. You're okay helping other people out without anything coming back to you. On the right, you see where it's the best odds of helping someone occur when you can pause it and look, but something like we're not in a hurry, we're feeling guilty, we're in a good mood. So you have all these things that come into play for that to happen. Bystander effect is where you giving bystanders less likely to give aid if other bystanders are present because you think somebody else is going to help, so why should you? Bystander apathy happened. I think we talked about the woman in Queens who was stabbed 18 times and 30-some people were watching her and nobody did anything because everybody thought the other person was going to do something. There's a short video in case you'd like to watch it about the bystander effect. It's pretty interesting. The norms for helping is why do we help? Cost-benefit analysis. So we're going to try to figure out why should we help? When should we help? Is it really worth helping or are we just not going to get anything from it? Social exchange theory states that our social behavior is an exchange process and the aim of which is to maximize benefits and minimize costs. So you want something to happen. If you give something good, you might want them to say thank you. You might want them to give you $1, I don't know, whatever. Reciprocity norm is an expectation that people will help, not hurt those that have helped them. So if you help somebody else, you expect somebody else to help you back, and vice versa, and you want like that to go along a little bit more so. Elements of conflict is a perceived incompatibility of actions, goals, or ideas. And sometimes we fall into a social trap in which the conflicting parties pursue self-interest rather than the good of the group. So sometimes you got those two people that just want their way, no other way, and they're not willing to give in. And sometimes the goods of the few for these guys outweigh the goods of the many, even though it should be the goods of the many outweigh the goods of the few. Star Trek 2. Elements of conflict is sometimes we have enemy perceptions. We think other people are being mean to us even when they're not. So we have mirror image perceptions, which are mutual views often helped by conflicting people. So sometimes these things are distorted. Self-fulfilling prophecy, a belief that leads to its own fulfillment. And I feel like I'm going to win $1 million one day. I would like to see that to fulfillment. Probably not going to happen, though. So he has to be somewhat understanding in the way things happen. So he has to reinforce and influence these decisions. Promoting peace. Contact with two opposing parties can help with conflicts. So you're going to get together, you're going to talk about things, you're going to try to fix things out. You're going to try to work together as opposed to each other. So more than it goes are shared goals that override differences among people and require their cooperation. Communication, sometimes you need a third party, a mediator, an arbitrator, somebody to come in, try to sit down with both parties, talk to them, try to figure out what's going on, what can they do to help. And sometimes these guys can help foster communication by overriding all the little other emotions that sometimes come into play and trying to get to the true issue at hand. Promoting peace is conciliation. Small, nice gestures can promote communication and well-being. So if you do something very nice and very small, remember with with what we talked about earlier, if you do something small, it can increase to larger things. Grit is a strategy designed to increase international relationships so they actually have ways to look at it and try to fix things over a long-term process. And so they want people to be able to get back and forth to each other and fix things over long term as opposed to increasing tension. Thank you for you guys today. I really do appreciate all the work today. The password for your test will be Apple. I will be seeing who actually knows the password, which is fun to do. I like to see who watches these videos. And I will see you in class.